And I don't get that you're just standing here taking pictures of these people. You get to know these people.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I used to be more stand back. I used to be more, see the frame, shoot the frame. And now I'm much more interested in making the connection. And very often, I don't start shooting until I've actually struck up a conversation, and then, waitress in a restaurant to say, hey, do you mind if I could take a couple of pictures? And now we're friends, and now I can ask her to do things.
Was this one trip?
One trip. This is 2 or 3 days.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Would you go back?
Yeah.
Yeah? Because you're not done.
I'm never done. You go away for a couple of years, you say, oh, I didn't do this. And,
Wonder if those guys made it through last year. Right?
Yeah, no, I mean, there'd be another story. That's what always happens. There's always another story to tell.
We were talking earlier about the famous photographers, that
Right.
5% of the people that are in museums and all the rest of that stuff. Are you making art when you're doing this? Are you? When you talk about like a story that has 4 images, and how do you tell a story in 4 images, and right. You want to tell a bigger story, is this an art form? Is it storytelling? Is it documentary?
I'm a storyteller. If I lived in another time, I might have been a magazine photographer. So okay, one more piece that we need to talk about really before I can talk about that is, and then I started to write, because I never wrote anything until I was about 70 years old, 68, something like that. I never wrote a word. I wouldn't sign a check.
Aren't you married to a writer?
I am married to a writer. I am married to a novelist, yes. And when I had this business, I had a partner, a woman named Rosie Guthrie, and when Friday came, Rosie would write out checks for everybody, and I got whatever I got, $500 a week, because it was not a successful small business, and she would sign my name on the bottom of the check, and I would take it home and hand it to Darcy, and she would endorse it on the back.
You're kidding, really?
And, yes, true story, and nobody ever questioned.
You had a phobia about writing, I think.
I was so embarrassed by my handwriting and my belief that I had nothing to say.
Oh.
I'm the kid that when it came time when you got a present from your aunt, your mom said, you have to write a thank you note. I was consumed with fear. I had no idea how to do that. When they said at school, you have to write a report on this. I did get thrown out of 5 high schools, and I got thrown out of 5 high schools because I couldn't do that stuff. I hadn't learned how, and I could not figure out how to learn that stuff. And then suddenly I could write. Really, like 50, 60 years later, I had some stories I wanted to tell, and I started to write them down, and they were kind of clumsy, but I have this wife who's a writer, and I would say, honey, would you look at this? and she would say, you have 5 problems. She is a great, great editor, and she never tells you, do this. What she says is, I don't know why this happened, or this, or this. She tells you what's missing, and then turns you loose to wrestle with it. So I began to write, and writing opened up everything. And suddenly I would take these pictures, and then I would be, even sometimes nowadays, even taking them, the act of taking them begins to form the story. Mm-hmm. So there's that. All of what I'm doing now is 3 things. It's the moving of images, and it's the telling of story, and it's the use of stills as the way to tell the story.
You're just on the writing thing for a second. You were publishing online.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah, all this began, right. I didn't start out to write a book. I started out with one story. I took a trip with my daughter, and I made a picture, and later I started thinking about that picture, and I started to write about it, and it turned into a story, and I posted it on a blog, and I did 3, 4 more. And then there's a place called Medium. I don't know if any of you read any of the, yeah. And Medium is a place where anybody can go online and create a place for themselves. And then, you start writing and you try to get people to come to it. And I started a thing called Stories I Want to Tell You, and I started writing these stories. And I thought, that's it, I'm amazed. I'm writing short stories. This is incredible. And then I looked up about 6 years later. I said, shit, I got 100 of these things. I kind of have told a story of my life. Maybe there's a whole book here. And that's how that book came to be.